Welcome to the selected ones. A crown may be stolen, but the lineage cannot be faked. Let it sink in. What if I told you that some individuals constructed their empires using bricks with your name engraved on them? What if your delays, diversions, and rejections were not due to a lack of power, but rather because someone was living on spiritual credit with your inheritance as collateral? More than half of high-ranking officials confess to feeling like imposters. Now imagine how many of them there are. Not only in their heads, but in actuality. They didn't just seize your moment. They took your birthright, copied your voice, and attempted to patent your future. But here's the deal with stolen inheritances. They come with a ticking clock. And guess what? It just reached zero. Those kingdoms are fracturing. Their favor is diminishing. And the selected ones are the true heirs. You're waking up. And listen, if you've ever felt like the understudy stole your limelight, this is for you. So get some metaphorical popcorn or anointing oil. It's your call. Because judgment does not whisper. It echoes. Let us discuss why they are losing everything, because they stole something that was never theirs to touch. Now, should we begin? First and foremost, spiritual deceit is costly. The thief never retains what is not theirs. When someone takes something that was never intended for them, particularly something holy like destiny, they don't get away free. They inherit the curse that goes with it. People believe they have triumphed when they maneuver their way into positions or benefits reserved for someone else. However, spiritual thievery is more than a mistake. It is a violation. Violations have repercussions. What belongs to you has a distinct stamp, a holy code. It resembles a spiritual fingerprint. Nobody else can wear it right, no matter how convincing they make it seem. They may imitate your style, voice, and even your movements, but they can't replicate your essence. So, even when it seems that they have stolen what is yours, they have really borrowed poison with glitter on top. See, there's a catch. Destiny is more than simply possession, it's also about alignment. If you're not meant to carry anything, it will ultimately crush you. And that is precisely what is happening to those who stole what was yours. They're losing sleep, favor, peace, relationships, ships, and chances while attempting to hold up something they were never meant to support. Because the minute they came into your zone, they entered a conflict they were unprepared for. Your inheritance may have seemed to be a prize on the surface, but it came with a spiritual burden that they were not designed to bear. And this is the reality. Most individuals will not say it aloud. Some folks did not just get fortunate. They gained entry by guile, manipulation, and spiritual trickery. But the cosmos does not forget. Heaven keeps receipts. What was taken is now making its way back. Opportunities dry up gradually, and support systems break. Their names no longer have the same impact they once had. Then suddenly, you don't have to raise a finger. The heist put their own demise in motion. They didn't simply take a gift, they unleashed a curse. And when you believed you were losing, you were really being protected. Number 2, karma does not miss. It waits till the spotlight is on. Karma isn't always loud, but it is never late. It observes in quiet while others act dirty, take what is not theirs, and chuckle as if they got away with it. But this is what makes karma so terrible. It waits until they've established their phony kingdom and are surrounded by people who applaud them. Until they're certain they've secured your position. Then it strikes. Not in the shadows or secretly, but then the lights come on and the applause is tremendous. Because karma not only corrects, but also exposes those who have stolen your inheritance, ideas, and chances. They believed they were being clever. They assumed quiet equaled safety. They saw your absence as weakness. They persuaded others that they deserved what they got via manipulation. And for a time, it worked. However, they were unaware that every stolen step had been recorded. There are spiritual rules at work that no one can circumvent. The seeds they sowed in deceit are now growing wild, and harvest season has arrived. The beauty of it is in how ironic everything becomes. The point they push themselves to is now when their demise starts. The individuals they impressed are now doubting them. The same achievement they celebrated is now slipping through their fingertips. This is how karma works. It allows pride to do the hard labor before flipping the script. You do not need to quarrel or expose anybody. That is already occurring without your aid. They are being undone by the same system that propelled them to success. Their phony narrative is crumbling under its own weight. And the truth always emerges when the falsehood becomes too loud. So, although they believed they had buried you, karma was only waiting for the proper time to reverse the roles. That moment has arrived. What they took did not come without repercussions. It arrived with a countdown, and it just reached 0. Number 3, their power was always rented. You have ownership. Power that is taken never lasts. It may seem like someone is winning for a time, getting followers, money, attention, or positions they weren't supposed to have. Most people don't realize, however, that everything is leased. It is just transitory. It comes with strings attached because true power, the type linked to purpose and legacy, is not something you can fake. It is inherited. It is won via alignment, not manipulation. People who take from the selected ones do not realize this. They believe they have the upper hand, but they are actually simply squatters in a spiritual realm that does not belong to them. They live in homes that they did not construct and have titles. They were not born to wear crowns that did not fit their heads. And sooner or later, the lease expires. That's when things start to fall down. The support fades, the favor wears off, and the limelight dims because you can only live on spiritual credit for so long until the bill arrives. Ownership, on the other hand, feels different when you are actually called and chosen. Your authority is not dependent on popularity, status, or public favor. It is rooted. It thrives even in stillness. It is the kind that does not have to struggle to remain relevant since it is the norm. You do not chase down doors. The doors open for you. And when the time comes, what you have will be repaid with interest. The folks who attempted to steal your lane are now learning they cannot retain what was never allotted to them. It makes no difference how much influence they garnered over a season. That influence is fraudulent. It's dressed up, yet empty. They exchanged tranquility for performance, and now they're drained from trying to cling on to something that was never theirs. You, however, were not delayed. You were being set up for permanency. What's yours will not expire. It does not have to be forced. Because you were not supposed to rent your electricity. You were born to possess it. Number 4, stolen crowns are compelled. They felt they were moving forward. They thought they had outsmarted destiny by slipping into a part they had no business playing. But there is a hidden reality. Nobody speaks about stolen crowns that come with secret curses. It may seem that they are prospering for a time, smiling in photos applauded by crowds and receiving chances that should have had your name on them. But behind the surface, there is pandemonium. Because taking something precious that has never been entrusted to you does not bless you. It breaks you. A crown has weight, and when it is intended for someone else, the weight becomes retribution. The crown was not made to fit their head, personality, or vocation. So it's crushing them from the inside out. They believed they were winning by pushing their way into your position. But all they did was inherit wars that were not their own. They were not designed for the pressure and obligations that they now face. They do not have the elegance to carry. That is the curse. They receive the title, but not the anointing. Worse, they keep doing it day after day. The flames becomes hotter. They are unable to slumber or remain calm. They have become slaves to the untruth. Because wearing something that is not fitted to you requires you to constantly adapt, explain, and justify it. It is exhausting. And sooner or later, the crown they took begins to leave wounds. Meanwhile, you, the true successor, may feel neglected, pushed aside, or even betrayed. But the fact is that you were being protected from a curse they cast on themselves. You were not delayed because you were not prepared. You were safe from walking into anything hazardous. Their facade is now starting to fracture. The grin is phony, the fever is subsiding, and the weight is crushing. The crown they stole in secret is now on fire in public. Because what was designed to elevate you can never empower someone who obtained it via dishonesty. The throne does not lie. It recognizes its actual ruler. Number 5. You were hidden for refining. They were open to judgment. What seemed like rejection turned out to be disguised safety. While you were wondering why doors wouldn't open, why people ignored you, and why your time never seemed to arrive, something more was going on behind the scenes. You were not being ignored. You were being honed and kept back, not because you were unworthy, but because you were too precious to be released early. Silence allows for a level of preparation that no stage can provide. You were being honed, tested, and spiritually prepared for longevity. What seemed to be a delay was in fact a divine tactic. Meanwhile, those who shoved their way up, stole positions, copied your work, and replicated your spirit were revealed gradually, rather than instantly. They were rapidly raised, but on precarious foundations. Their achievement seemed tremendous, but it was based on borrowed time and stolen designs. They circumvent the procedure you went through. They bypassed the trimming, the pressure, and the lessons. As a result, they rose without roots. What develops swiftly without a basis inevitably fails under strain. They were never really selected. They were loud, conspicuous, and cheered, but not in unison. They took on positions that demanded spiritual weight that they didn't have. And suddenly, everything they've constructed is collapsing. That exposure is not arbitrary. It is a matter of judgment. The world, God, and time are all calling them out for taking shortcuts and attempting to claim an inheritance they did not have. Right. And you? You are not behind, you're preserved. There is something divine about being concealed. It indicates you were deemed worth the wait. You were permitted to develop without pollution. Now, when your moment comes, you will not just show up full of excitement. You will arrive with depth, clarity, authority, and tranquility. No need to rush to prove oneself. There will be no rush to retain what you own. You'll arrive well prepared, forged specifically for its weight. They were revealed because falsehoods are always subject to scrutiny. You were veiled because greatness usually accompanies what is genuine. They moved quickly. However, you are traveling a long distance. Number 6, they invested in your demise. They are now paying interest. They didn't just oppose you. They invested in your collapse with forethought and plan. They spent hours fabricating falsehoods, creating diversions, laying traps, and propagating narratives intended to damage you. Some smiled at you while secretly polluting your name. Others established whole identities by attempting to outshine, outpace, or obliterate you. They weren't just jealous. They approached it strategically, but they never recognized that every action they took against you was a spiritual debt, and the loan has been accruing interest. That interest manifests as delay, uncertainty, concern, fraying ties, and closed doors. They believed they were constructing something substantial by tearing you down, but all they were doing was borrowing time and incurring costs they couldn't afford. Such sabotage does not go undetected. Even if they misled people, the spiritual sphere continues to score differently. Every assault carried a cost, every falsehood accumulated weight, and every bogus chance they grabbed from you resulted in a debt in your name. And now the collectors are here. Every overdue bill is a reminder from life. The favor they exploited to earn is fading. They're losing the alliances that helped them ascend. The instruments they used to attempt to destroy you are now turning against them. Not because you want vengeance, but because justice constantly seeks to correct imbalances. And when someone lives a life based on curses directed against someone selected, those curses do not evaporate. They have a boomerang. The fact that you did not have to battle them adds to its impact. You did not have to reveal clapbacks or compete. Despite the discomfort, you continued to move, heal, and develop. That's why they're paying as you rise. They believed your collapse was their advancement. Instead, your existence became their sentence. This is the season when their bill comes due, and mercy is not on it. Number 7, anointing cannot be taken, only mimicked. There is a distinction between skill and anointing. Talent may be duplicated, purchased, and even taught. But anointing, that is heavenly. It's the unseen energy that drives your voice, presence and impact, the thing that moves rooms and causes change without you saying a word. And the unpleasant reality is that some people recognized that in you and attempted to emulate it. They observed your rhythm, copied your thoughts, imitated your delivery, and even stole your terminology. They didn't comprehend, however, that what was birthed in fire cannot be faked. They were adept at impersonation, excellent enough to trick audiences, develop platforms, and make some people wonder if they were the genuine thing. However, they were never. They were simply so loud. Doesn't mean called. They moved as you talked. It's as if you've branded themselves in your shadow. But heaven didn't recognize their signature. They had a performance. You had presence. The fact that the illusion is breaking apart adds to the impact of this moment. The applause is diminishing. The duplicates are crumbling because you can only maintain a performance for so long until the strain of the true purpose requires verification. And when that occurs, imitation collapses. That is exactly what is occurring right now. The ones who attempted to be you without paying the price you paid are crumbling under the weight of what they took. The platforms remain, but the oil is gone. The charm persists, but the conviction is hollow. Here's the beauty. You were never required to show they were false. You did not need to defend your position or yell your truth. The anointing speaks for itself. It does not shout. It shifts. And suddenly, without warning, people are realizing the difference. They're beginning to recognize what's genuine and what's simply noise. They're noting who bears the weight and who is just skilled at carrying a script. Impersonation may get attention, but it cannot create a lasting legacy. And now the real ones are rising. You are not come to compete. You are come to reclaim. Because, while they were busy copying your abilities, you were becoming unmistakable. The spirit never mixes the counterfeit with the chosen. Number 8. Generational wealth is more than simply money. It also includes spiritual equity. Most people associate inheritance with money, real estate, or other things. However, the selected ones have a deeper heritage. It's more than simply what's in your bank account. It's what's in your blood. It is the spiritual equity accumulated over centuries. The prayers your ancestors spoke, the wars they fought, the knowledge they gained through grief, and the promises they never lived to see realized were all saved for you. That is the actual riches. And other individuals attempted to hijack it out of ignorance or jealousy, not realizing the gravity of the situation. They did not just take your ideas or possibilities. They attempted to tap into your spiritual legacy, unaware that what was destined for you was created precisely with your ancestry, path, and calling in mind. They get access to something precious as if it were just another chance to seize. They believed they were being smart, but they were venturing into area that their spirit was not permitted to handle. This type of inheritance is not simply handed on. It is carried, and if you lack the necessary spiritual power or harmony, it will become poisonous in your hands. That is why everything they attempted to construct with what they took is now disintegrating. Not because you are coercing them, but because mishandled inheritance collapses on its own. It comes with built-in accountability. They were unaware that legacy impact cannot be faked. They didn't realize that your unclaimed triumphs weren't just opportunities. They were sealed assignments. That knowledge, which they attempted to copy, was created in solitude and suffering. They assumed it could be replicated in a day. It couldn't, and suddenly the weight is too much for them. What was supposed to bless you is now breaking them. It was not compelled. Rather, it was misapplied. They did not only steal, they desecrated. And the consequences aren't merely public failure. It's internal breakdown, disorientation, tiredness, and emptiness. Meanwhile, you are moving into what has always been yours. Not just riches, but intelligence. Not only access, but authority. Because inheritance is not about what you get. It is all about what you carry. Well, and it is something no thief can replicate. Number 9. Their growth was fueled by your delay. Now it is your time. They rose because you were late. It's a harsh fact, but it's accurate. Every time you were held back, neglected, or sidelined, someone else was making progress. Sometimes by taking shortcuts, sometimes by entering areas that weren't theirs to claim. Their achievement seemed to be confirmation that you had missed your opportunity. But the reality goes deeper. Your delay was not a rejection. It was a magnificent partnership. You were being sculpted, aligned, and readied in ways they never expected. Meanwhile, their ascension was based on borrowed momentum, a precarious foundation that relied on your absence. Their ascent was neither steady or sustained. It was a fragile climb supported by stolen chances and deceptive narratives. They did not acquire their position via patience or honesty. They seized it while you were still getting ready. But divine timing does not mean being refused. It's about being prepared. It's the difference between being handed a crown to carry and a throne to govern over. Now it's time for the tables to do more than merely flip with force. What they constructed on your delay is breaking under strain. The spotlight that formerly shined on them is changing, revealing the flaws and lies. Their moment was always borrowed time, and now it is going out. They mistook your stillness for weakness, but it was really power in disguise. You were not late. You were preparing for the time when your ascension would be not just obvious, but unmistakable. This is not about vengeance or resentment. It's about recovering what has always been yours. Their ascension was just a momentary diversion. Your fate is the main path. The cosmos is not indifferent to time. It values preparation and purpose. Now it's your chance to ascend. Not softly, but strongly. The delay was never a dead end. It was a setup for a comeback. It's too enormous to ignore. Their growth was fueled by your delay. However, your rise will be based on your fate. And destiny does not merely appear. It is dominant. Number 10. Each stolen blessing has a boomerang consequence. When someone takes a blessing intended for you, it is more than a mere loss for you. It is a spiritual obligation for them. Blessings are more than simply presents. They represent energy with direction and purpose. What is stolen without permission has a built-in monitoring mechanism, a kind of spiritual GPS that guarantees it does not just evaporate into thin air. Instead, it loops back, perhaps silently at first, and then with overwhelming force. The trick lies in how it returns. It is not merely your blessing returning to you. The thief faces the repercussions of his actions. The energy they attempted to suck off bears the weight of your legitimate claim, purpose, and calling. That weight does not lessen. When they carry it, it becomes heavier, locking them in an unintended loop of punishment. They believed they were getting an edge by taking what was intended for you. Instead, they send a boomerang hurtling back at full speed. The blessings become curses. They bear both the power of what was taken and the penalties of the crime. As your blessings return to you, those who stole them are left to cope with the consequences. Confusion, failure, irreversible loss, damaged relationships, and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. It is a spiritual rule. Energy once taken can never be recovered. It always returns, and it does so in multiples. The cosmos balances itself, ensuring that no theft goes unpunished. You may not see the whole picture right first, but behind the scenes, what was taken is being retrieved and justice is being served. So, although they felt they were benefiting by stealing from you, they were unwittingly setting themselves up for failure. The blessings you have lost, they're coming back stronger, and the revenge is inexorable. It is not just a return, it is a reckoning. Number, they did not just steal from you. They activated your authority when they took what was intended for you. They didn't simply remove a piece of your life. They unintentionally provoked a profound metamorphosis. Their robbery was not a random act of greed or jealousy. It was a catalyst for awakening a deeper part of your soul. Comfort never pushed you to develop the way hardship did. When your blessings were taken, you were forced to become sharper, more observant, and passionately protective of your mission. The precise act that was intended to shatter you became the source of your power. You learned to see through the disguises of those who oppose you. You previously lacked judgment. It was erected in the midst of treachery and tragedy. You become someone who no longer accepts things at face value, who understands the difference between true opportunity and phony favor. That type of spiritual understanding is a weapon, and it was ignited through effort rather than easy. You're not only looking to retrieve what was taken. That's an ancient tale. You're about to take on a far higher role of leadership. There is a distinction to be made between reclaiming what is rightfully yours and walking with complete power over your destiny. Your authority comes from having weathered the storm, survived the struggle, and emerged wiser. It is not provided. It is gained in the crucible of sorrow and betrayal. Those who stole from you believe they were taking advantage, yet all they did was awaken the king or queen inside you. You are no longer functioning from a position of victimization or response. You are leading with strength and purpose. You now have a better understanding of the battlefield and can confidently dominate your zone. The theft was planned, as was your ascension. They unknowingly paved the way for your dominance, and you are now dominating rather than living. Their access to you served as a kind of protection. They are now exposed. When people become close to you, particularly if you're selected or destined for greatness, they get a type of protection that they don't completely grasp. Being near you signifies they are under your shadow, influence, and spiritual protection. It's like being inside a fortress that they didn't create but nonetheless profit from. This intimacy provided them with safety, protection from repercussions, exposure, and the full weight of their acts. They could move, talk, and even mislead because they were protected by your presence, reputation, and elegance. But when they chose to betray you, when they took what was yours, spoke falsehoods, or worked against your destiny, they made a fundamental error. By violating confidence, they removed the very cover that kept them safe. That protection was never theirs to keep forever. It was a borrowed shield, contingent upon allegiance and alignment. Once that relationship was severed, the barrier came away, and they found themselves standing, exposed in places where they had before felt untouchable. This exposure is more than simply social or emotional. It is spiritual. The areas in which they formerly managed circumstances, controlled narratives, and avoided responsibility are now available to scrutiny. Their secrets, goals, and real nature are becoming clear. The shield that previously blinded others to their flaws has vanished, and the same relationships that helped them ascend are now compounding their collapse. Without your cover, their vulnerability is evident, and they are now confronting the repercussions they previously evaded. Being near to you was more than simply a convenience for them. It provided a strategic edge. It enabled them to act with impunity. But treachery is more than simply what they stole. It is about what they have lost. They lost their safe haven, their invisibility cloak, and their ability to hide behind your might. Every decision they make is now being scrutinized. Every partnership they rely on seems fragile, and every chance they attempt to seize slips through their fingers. Meanwhile, you remain covered and protected since your strength is not dependent on their presence, but rather on your calling and integrity. Their exposure is the direct effect of their decision to betray, and that exposure is strong. It's the universe's way of removing the mask and exposing the truth. What was previously buried under your shadow is now exposed in the glaring light of responsibility. Essentially, their access to you served as a kind of protection. When they shut off that access, they walked out of the fortress and into the open, where they are now completely exposed, defenseless, and disintegrating in ways they never expected. The hidden ones always appear as judges, not victims. The reality regarding people who are concealed, neglected, or delayed is as follows. Their homecoming is not about appealing for recognition or asking for justice. It's about returning with unquestionable authority. The world may have dismissed you as a victim or a footnote, but you were never intended to fill that position. You were silently, sincerely, and unwaveringly preparing for the time when your whole existence would be decided. When you were ignored, misjudged, or deceived, the agony did not go to waste. It was not a setback. It was a covert sharpening while others hurried forward, propelled by shortcuts or dishonesty. You were developing in power and clarity, and this development transformed you from someone who seeks justice to someone who embodies it. You don't need to raise your voice or argue your cause. Your presence, success, and unwavering tranquility will do the talking. The same individuals who dismissed you, stole your fortune, derided your patience, or expected you'd remain silent, will face a quiet but strong judgment. They will not need to hear a word from you. Your climb will be the unexpected sentence. Their life, sabotage, and thievery will all be measured by the fact that you are standing taller, unshaken, and triumphant. This is not about vengeance or resentment. It's about regaining your power and living so completely that your presence serves as the ultimate testament. You aren't returning as a victim, appealing for pity. You're returning as a judge, proving the truth via your achievement and honesty. And this kind of justice is considerably more powerful than any debate or conflict. So, when the time comes, realize that you're not simply returning, you're reigning. The hidden ones don't just survive. They return to the judge. Their enthusiasm and power establish the tone for the courtroom. The same individuals who question you will be the first to understand they were never in charge. You were all along. Number restoration is never done one at a time. It is wrath combined with fascination. Restoration is not a simple, even exchange in which you recover precisely what was lost. That is the level of fairness that the world demands. However, divine repair operates at a different level. It's more than simply balance. It is about restoring what is properly yours once it has been taken. You're not just getting it back. You're receiving more back than you ever have. And those who stole from you are losing more than just what they took. They are losing much more, even items they believed were impenetrable. This is not petty retribution. It is a higher sort of justice that seeks to make things right in the largest manner imaginable. When they attempted to trick the system by taking your inheritance, they had no idea they were signed up for a punishment that would have far-reaching consequences in their life. Restoration with interest implies that the loss they experience is exaggerated, and this is intended. It conveys a message about the spiritual principles that regulate fairness and truth, as well as what they took. They could cling to their last thoughts. Some areas of their world are safe and secure, but nothing is free from the divine reckoning. The more they clutched onto what was not theirs, the more they encouraged disaster. Their security was a mirage based on sand. Meanwhile, what was stolen from you is being returned to you in greater force, richer resources, more influence, deeper peace, and indisputable authority. This is why restoration will never be a trade. It's intended to do more than only cure wounds. It's intended to restore a cosmic equilibrium. The scales are not just tilting back in your favor. They're tilting so much that the fake order they were attempting to build is disrupted. It's a reproach and a gift in one. So, while thinking about restoration, don't anticipate a quick payoff. Expect revenge and interest. What you get will outweigh what you lost, and what they lose will outweigh what they took. This is divine correction in action, inexorable in the larger scheme of fate. What they took from you was never really theirs to retain. It was a borrowed property, a transient mirage that could never survive the might of your true birthright. The attempts to discredit you and take what belongs to your legacy have merely fueled forces beyond their understanding. Every act of treachery, every minute of delay, and every effort to replicate your unique anointing has acted as a catalyst for your transformation, sharpening your spirit, waking your authority, and preparing you for an unstoppable climb. This path isn't about petty vengeance or empty wins. It is about reclaiming your mission with such intensity that there is no place for doubt or denial. The tables are not only shifting, they are flipping with a force that silences misleading narratives and exposes deceptive goals. The individuals who formerly flourished in your shadow are now exposed, defenseless, and crumbling under the weight of their own deception. Their safety was always conditional, and when they cut off their link to your covering, they walked into the light of reality, where facades shatter and true character emerges. What you're getting into is far more than just repair. It is a heavenly corrective that goes beyond fairness and into the domain of inexorable justice. You are not just getting back what was stolen. You are inheriting numerous benefits and authority forged in fire, as well as a legacy that no one can replicate or extinguish. Your very presence serves as a courthouse where those who question you are quietly judged, and your very existence is the judgment. So stand without hesitation and accept your destiny. This is your time to reign not as a victim, but as a conqueror, a beggar, or a monarch. The stolen crowns may have scorched their hands, but yours are infused with strength, knowledge, and unwavering tranquility. This is your opportunity to reclaim, rebuild, and rule supreme. Because the selected ones don't just endure history, they rewrote it. And your narrative, characterized by persistence and divine favor, is just starting. If this message connected with you and you're ready to take your proper position, don't miss what comes next. Click the subscribe button and enable alerts so you're always the first to hear the truth that empowers and awakens. I like this video. If it stirred something deep within you, leave a comment to share your tale or opinions. We are creating a warrior community that will rise together. And don't forget to share this with anybody who needs to hear that their delay is only the prelude to a tremendous comeback. Your support feeds our movement, and united we are unstoppable. Let us rise.